All right, guys, here we are on the live stream. I'm so excited to be able to dive into today's topic. If you missed today's 2 Minute Tuesday, this morning, it was actually 5 questions that came in from Instagram. I just chose 5. They were like the first 5 that came in. We had a couple others come in, some of which I just answered, some of which I will answer on this video. But I talked about finding your creative style, pushing film, JCH, street pan, Pancro 400, talked about Miles Davis or Bill Evans. I absolutely love both. That's part of the reason why Kind of Blue is one of the all-time best jazz albums ever, because it has both and Coltrane, and just amazing album. But then we also talked about how to deal with having creative ideas when you don't have the time to be able to jump in and execute them. And then my goals for 2 to 5 years, or 2 years down the line, and what I'm doing in order to hit those goals. So if you want to hear those initial responses and those initial ideas, I actually did that video this morning, and I might actually kind of expound on a couple more of those. Specifically, I have 2 in mind that I really want to dive into and really talk about more in depth here. And I kind of have some large rants that have been running through my head, so hopefully I don't go too crazy on you guys, but at the same time, I am very excited to dive in and start going through some of this content and really digging in deep to where I wasn't able to do so in the 4 or 5 minute video this morning. So let's see. I'm going to jump over to these comments, and then I have, like I said, I have a couple more questions over on my other screen here. If you guys have any questions for a majority of this 2 Minute Tuesday live stream, it's going to be really just question and answer. So I'd love to be able to tackle some conversations with you guys. And I specifically want to dive into the process-minded kind of conversation. So we could talk about gear, but you guys know me. You guys know that I really like to go into the thought process behind our photography and why it is that we do the things that we do. So if you have any questions on what it is or why it is that I do some of the things I do, go ahead and ask those. And this would be a great time to get those questions out there. Gabe says, wish I had the cash. I'd totally snag that meter, as I sent my Sakonic in and haven't heard from them yet. Ooh, where'd you send it into, Gabe? Peter Donovan says, is there any way to scan negatives without the use of a true photo scanner? Yeah, and actually, if you guys follow Renato, Gabe, or any, maybe Jacob, anybody that has Renato's Instagram handle, go ahead and put that up in here, because I can't think of what his Instagram handle is, but Renato over on Instagram, all of his scans that he puts up are all iPhone scans, and you'd actually be surprised on how effective an iPhone can be on scanning. If you get any kind of backlit source, a light table or anything like that, you just get your negatives nice and backlit, and then you can take the photo with your phone, and you can either edit on, your computer, or you can edit on your phone. But the nice thing is iPhone has that macro feature that will allow you to get nice and close. And I'm really curious what apps are good for that. That's a really good question. And if anybody has any apps specifically for inverting a negative, I would love to hear that, because I haven't been able to find a good app for it myself. I've looked through a couple, and I had one that was working, but then they updated, and it ended up being a crappy app after they updated. But yeah, it's I kind of actually want to do. I have this idea in my mind for a zine project that I want to make a video on, and really kind of run through an entire zine project and take out a lot of the just the battles and the hurdles that people have in making a zine. And I want to like produce a zine from start to finish in a weekend, shoot the film and scan the film, and then sequence everything. And I want to choose ways to be able to build this thing that are easily accessible for people, that you don't need to purchase any extra equipment, or if you do, it's a very small purchase, and then be able to do from start to finish. And I might actually do all of my scanning for that zine idea with my iPhone, and be able to see what it will print to. And I might just do a video on that anyways, and just scan some film with my phone, and then print it and see how large we can print with that resolution, and what it actually looks like. Could be an interesting video to go down. Jacob says, I'm jealous on that spot meter. I really want to get a nice spot meter for medium format work. Yes, it's an amazing, amazing spot meter to use. I really do absolutely love it. If you guys don't know what a spot meter is, it's actually a meter. And if you're just joining in before the show started, we were talking about how I'm selling this guy, but it's kind of, you just look through this lens, which is looking through this lens, and then there's a little spot in the center, and you put that on what it is that you want. You hit it on the inside, it tells you a value, and then I have a zone chart up top. You match your value, and there's a whole system to it, but it's an amazing, amazing tool. And really, you just pull it up. You could grab your reading, and you just place your reading where you want it on your chart, from black to white and all the mid-tone grays. So let's say if I'm going to the darkest part of my scene, and it says that it's, if it's a nice bright day, it's a 4 in value, and I want it to end up on the darker side. I can look at my scale and go, okay, I want that 4 to actually end up in the 3, and I just place it. Anyways, I don't want to go through a whole. Maybe I'll do a video on this before I send it out on how I use it. I know that there's a couple different ways to use these. I'm not necessarily sure that my way is the proper way, but it's worked extremely well for all the different times that I've shot with it. I typically use that guy with my large format camera, which is right up over here. But I'm pretty sure I can get away with using Sunny 16, at least for my personal work. I don't need my negatives to be absolutely perfect. Alistar says, Peter, you can set up a DSLR scanning rig if you have the equipment available. You could do that as well. You could scan using a macro lens on your DSLR and then bring them into Lightroom and go through it that way. With the with the temperature starting to change, I'm up in my loft. So our apartment here, this is actually upstairs in our apartment, and then there's a ledge right here to where if someone was downstairs, I could throw something over to them. But it gets so hot up here in the loft, so I'm not trying to do a strip tease or anything for you guys. I'm just trying to not sweat my tail off. Gar says, sorry Jacob, just seen the last message. Awesome. Hannah says, we hadn't had snow yet, but it's been freezing. So it wouldn't surprise me if we had some in the next few days. Nice. Our snow's melting. You guys are getting snow. I guess that's just kind of how it works. Maybe our precipitation crossed the ocean over for you guys. Eric says, I think I'm going to start saving for a Sekonic 508. I feel the need for a very good, versatile light meter. 508s are amazing, amazing light meters. I borrowed one from the church for a little bit. They have one for doing the lighting setups and stuff on stage for big productions, and it's an amazing, amazing light meter. It's starting to, come on. I need to put like a whiteboard or something right here, so that way it will meter off of like this, and it will expose my face properly. Anyways, we're just gonna roll with it. You sent it into their support department. Man, that sucks that you haven't heard anything from them. Gabe says Renato actually uses his Pixel rather than an iPhone. Well, a phone nonetheless. Thanks, buddy, for correcting me on that. Delta Dave 44 says, do you have any specific game plan for photographing Paris, or will you be winging it? Nearly every single time I go out any place that I'm going out to photograph, I'm winging it. I like to go out without much of a plan. I kind of talked about this when answering the first question in today's 2 Minute Tuesday, but sometimes I'll have, ideas in my mind, but at the same time, if you go back to the Real Talk video that I did back in August, I came back from Chicago, and I went out to Chicago with a very specific mindset in mind, and I was very disappointed coming back because I did not shoot what it was that I had in mind. But at the same time, when I allowed some time to pass and I reapproached those images, some of my favorite images from Chicago were created on that trip. And if I would have just had an open mind from the get-go, it would be a much different experience for me. So when I go to these things, I'd like to wing it. I know that I'm going to be shooting HP5 Push two stops, like those are the givens. I know that I'm going to be shooting my Leica M2. I'll probably bring my Mamiya 645 if we have space in the bags. But those are going to be the things, and that's what I rock and roll with. And then I just shoot whatever catches my eye. If I go in, the big thing too is I want to be able to experience. One of the things that Emily keeps telling me is, oh, Paris isn't going to be, you know, what it is that you see in all these books that you have. And I love that about that. You know, I don't want to go out and experience the exact same thing that I've seen in book after book after book. I want to go out and see Paris for what it is today, and then I want to go out, excuse me, in 10 years, and, you know, or 2 years or next year, and see what it is then, and watch the progression of Paris and of Chicago and of New York. And it's really just allowing myself to go out there and experience what it is that it has to offer me. So yeah, I appreciate that question, and most of the time I just wing it. London Backpacker, you saying Snapseed allows you to invert the image? Did they recently add that? Because when I was looking for it, maybe they have a tonal curve adjustment that you can reverse your. Ah, yep, that's what Gabe's saying too. I didn't realize that they came out with curves in Snapseed. I've never used curves in Snapseed, so I don't even know why I didn't even think to look at that. So thank you guys, Lennon Backpacker, Gabe, anyone who else said Snapseed. Negative Me, I think actually Negative Me was the one that I was using for a while, and then when they updated it, it just went to crap. They might have fixed it since then, but I deleted it. I give apps like a certain level of grace before they get cut from my phone. All right. Oh, sorry. Sometimes I hit the thing and my chat scrolls all the way to the bottom. Let's see here. Clinton says won't let you pass links, but search at Renato Repetto on Insta, and most importantly on Medium to read his articles. Yeah, I haven't read any of his articles yet. I need to get over there and read them. Zirihun Halu, how you tackle two stops in bright sun with daylight like a shutter speed limitations. So I'm going to be making a video on how I meter and how I go about. The big thing is I'm shooting my 1600 as if it were 800 speed film. So which really kind of puts me in a place where I could either shoot 1/1000th of a second or shoot much more of what I do, 1/500th of a second, because I like to overexpose my film by a stop. So at 1/500th or 1/1000th, then it's just f16 and below. So on a bright sunny day, or if I'm on the beach, if I'm on the beach, it'll be f22 at 1/500th or 1/1000th, depending on how bright and sunny the day is. But if I'm out just traveling in the streets, and I'm just out there running and gunning, if it's a bright sunny day, it'll be f16 at 1/500th of a second. If it's slightly or cloudy, I'm going to be at f11. If it's overcast, f8, etc. And then the big thing that I will point out right now as I'm talking about the Sunny 16 to keep in mind is you really want to be watching where your shadows are and what you're actually exposing for. So oftentimes people will go, okay, it's sunny outside, I'm going to be at f16, but if you're shooting someone who's backlit, you don't want to be at f16, you want to be at f8 to be able to get the tonality in the shadows, and you want to open those shadows up and then allow the background to overexpose, which with most modern film stocks, you're not going to overexpose the background by that much. There's quite a bit of latitude in the highlights of most film stocks. So hopefully that answers your question. With the Leica being at 1/1000th of a second, there's not much limitation that I really need to worry about. Most of the cameras that I have at least go to 1/1000th. I think the shutter on my Graflex goes to 1/500th of a second, which again is perfectly fine if I'm shooting HP5 out in the sunlight. I could work off a 1/500th of a second, especially because you could stop down quite a bit with the Graflex. So Andrew says, how many megabytes can you get from your scanned negatives? Andrew, that's a really good question. To be honest with you, I really don't know. Um, I know that a lot of people say that the Pac-On has a 6 megapixel scan, but at the same time, the TLX software that I use opens up the capabilities quite a bit more, and I would highly suspect that it's much more than 6 megapixels because I can zoom in quite a ways at 100%. So I really don't know. And I don't really get caught up on that kind of stuff. So I apologize. I don't have more information for you on that. It prints large enough. It prints zines perfectly fine. It prints perfectly fine. I've printed up to 13 by 19. Anything that I print over 13 by 19 anyways, I'm probably going to send the negative out to get drum scanned just to get as much resolution as I possibly can. And then George says, Zerahoon with filters. Filters can work too. I don't mind being wide open, stop down out in the bright sunlight. I used to shoot wide open all the time and just got sick and tired of trying to, fix all my errors with depth of field. And I'm not saying that any of you guys are doing that. I'm just saying for my own walk and my own, pursuit through photography, I ended up embracing depth of field much more as I continued on and layering things in a scene. At the same time, I still enjoy depth of field, and if that's the case, if I'm shooting 1600 and I want to, open up to f4, f2.8, then filters is really going to be where it's at, or I have to find some open shade or anything to be able to place my subject in something that I want to expose and open up a little bit more. Started not making sense there at the end, but hopefully you understand what I'm saying. Eric says, "Wow, your zine idea would be awesome. I really want to publish my current project." Yes, Eric, get it published, man. It's if you have any questions, feel free to reach out at any point. I really want to help people to get the first zine out of the way, because once the first one's done, it makes the rest so much simpler, and it's really a lot more simple and easy than a lot of people make it out to be. So, but I do want to make that project and to do it super low key, but at the same time, hopefully it will inspire others that you can be able to do the same. Oh, it just scrolled down again. Peter says, develop my first 2 rolls of HP5 at home. Nice. Congrats. I think you sent me a picture of that, right? Maybe it wasn't you, maybe it was someone else. But anyways, congrats. So George, I don't know if that, I think that question was for Pete, for the HC110 as the developer, but that's also the answer for me. So if you were directing that to me, that's my answer as well. All right. Pete is fine? Okay, cool. Good, because I kept saying it and I didn't even realize that I was saying it. So DJ Werner says, I use iPad as a light source. Nice. Lay my negative on it, shoot it with the iPhone, and use Photoshop Express to invert. That's a fantastic idea. And actually, I have a tablet in my my bag that I could use for the same thing. I didn't even think about that. That's amazing. George, I have a Zeiss 35 2 filter. Trade is 49 millimeter. I'm not lucky enough to find a filter. There's some pretty inexpensive 49 millimeter filters over on eBay. I don't know if you've checked over there. Maybe you have, and maybe I'm wrong, but I feel like the last time I was looking for a 49 millimeter filter, there's quite a few over there for a decent price. I like to joke. Can I tell you a joke? Um, I don't know. I'm not going to say yes to that. I'm sorry. I might be going back to D76, so versatile. Nice. I've never tried D76. I kind of have this thing against D76 because someone sent me a Mamiya RB67, and they padded the Mamiya RB67 in the box with D76 packets. And in shipment, the D76 packets opened up and absolutely covered the Mamiya with D76. So anytime I think of D76, I just get kind of frustrated. Like a Dad, hello, welcome. Gabe says, Eric Hart, what do you mean by versatile? I've heard that you can do a lot of different things with it. I'm gonna try and I see that the sun is starting to hit here, so I'm gonna try and block that. I got a window over here, and the sun comes in and just blares me. That's the nice thing about putting this softbox up is because I used to work on the computer here, and I would just get blasted in the face. But now the softbox blocks it. Get a bigger one and just put it in front of the lens when shooting. That could work as well. Or you could get a step down ring. If you get a larger filter, you could get step down rings to bring it down. Jacob Murphy says, got any tips for removing water spots on film? A friend who you met in New York City is having difficulties. Oh, Leandro. Nice. And my tips haven't helped. I think if you use, man, my nose itches every time I do a live stream. I'm sorry, guys. I think it's partly it itches, and then I think I have something hanging out of my nose. And anyways, he could either one rinse the film, and put some. I don't know if I could even reach out to Leandro, but for anybody out there, if you rinse your film and use a wetting agent, and if you use that the first time, then try using a sponge to sponge down the film. Make sure that it's wet and soft. Make sure that there's no burrs on it, but that'll help to get some of the stuff off. But if you use a wetting agent, really kind of vigorously shake it after you've already let it dry, it'll re-wet the film, but then kind of wash the film, and then you can re-rinse it and re-hang it to dry, and then swipe it with a very, very gentle sponge. You want to make sure that it's most delicate of sponges made in the Swiss Alps. Um, Gabe says, Jacob, I always rinse with distilled water using the Ilford method and don't really have any issues with the water spots. Nice. Yeah, I need to start using distilled water. I haven't even tried using it as kind of like a final rinse, maybe. I don't know. Andrew says, can you use an iPad to backlight negatives for DSLR scanning? You should be able to. What I would say with that is if you can figure out a way to be able to separate the two a little bit, one of the things that when I've thought about, and I had thought about iPad backlighting in the past, but you get the pixels. Unless you have, I think some of the new iPads have like Retina displays, and the pixels won't show up. But you get those, those bars of color that use as a backlight source. You don't want those to show through and start to alter the structure of your negative as you're scanning. So have some sort of separation between the two, even if you can clip up the film or however you go about it. But you should be able to. Uneven Toast says, Jacob Murphy, I started developing a couple months ago. It was same problem. Tiny bit of washing up liquid in the wash. Put the nags tightly between my fingers to run off excess water. Yeah, if you do that, I used to do that. You have to make sure that your fingers are extremely, extremely soft. Again, any of the burrs, when film emulsion comes out of the tank, it's pretty soft and very malleable. So you don't want to mess up the emulsion or scratch the emulsion with anything like that. But if you don't have a wetting agent, you can use dishwasher soap, any kind of dish detergent that has. Make sure it's not a heavy detergent, but a light detergent that has any kind of streak-free essence to it will allow you to be able to allow those negatives to dry spot-free for the most part. In fact, I ran out of wetting agent, or I didn't have any. I forgot my wetting agent when I went out to Maine 2 years ago for my artist residency, and I was developing a lot of film over there. So I just used their Dawn dish soap that they had in my studio space that I was working in, and it worked just fine. In fact, I was looking at some of the negatives this week, and I might switch over to that because they were super, super clean and clear from any spots, and I was kind of blown away because I do get spots every once in a while. Gabe says, Andrew, absolutely, just be sure the screen is nice and clean. Yes. Paris at night, winging it well. Yes. That's a good idea. Gabe says, Andrew, get a really basic text editor or something that is totally white. That works perfect. Or if you just take a picture or any of the editing apps or anything and you just add a white, fill, you just want to make sure that there's no images or anything on there. But yeah. Like a Dad says, I know you are not a gear guy or digital guy, but any thoughts on the Sony A7 III? I didn't even know that they had a Sony A7 III, so unfortunately I can't give you any thoughts. I know the A7s are fantastic. They've been fantastic since the first one came out, and you really can't go wrong. Any of the new cameras that are coming out are perfectly fine. They're more than capable of 99% of the needs from the photography and photographic world. So Jacob says, Gabe, yeah, that's what I told him to try. So hopefully that will help because I rarely have that issue. Nice. Alistair says, I agree with you on keeping an open mind when going out to shoot. I really think that it's a big, big part of the exploration process of being able to. Hey, Emily's on here. Hi, baby. My wife's on here. I just lost the comment. And I hate that that this does this. Let's see here. Sorry, guys. Sometimes it jumps around, and I got to make sure that I find the comments again. All right, here we go. Alistair says, I went to London this past weekend with the mind to shoot some expired Ektachrome in some NPZ 800. I believe that's the Fuji 800 speed film, right? And around Covent Garden and at the Tate Modern. Just trying out some new techniques without any particular images in mind. Nice. Yeah, sometimes, sometimes going out without any, kind of expectation is also going out with a specific film in mind or anything like that and just experimenting. I think experimenting is crucial. And we're actually going to talk about that here in a second. I might jump over to that in about 2 seconds. And then real quick, I want to give 2 different points. I want to make 2 different points right now, however you want to say that. But first one is, if you're enjoying this live stream, go ahead and hit the like button. That's going to tell YouTube that we're doing a great job, and it's going to continue pushing it out in front of more people. So go ahead and hit that like button right now, and thank you guys. You guys are jumping on it right now. And then second, I want to point out Anthony from raw_film_photography over on Instagram. He's actually our guest moderator today, and you'll see him in here. He has a little wrench next to his name, so if he makes any comments to you guys or anything on my behalf, that's because I've granted him the permission to do so. As long as it's, if he starts, calling you names on my behalf, that's not going to happen. That's not going to fly. But no, I trust Anthony. He's an awesome dude, and we're excited to have him as our guest moderator for the month of March and today. So thank you. Thanks again, Anthony. And you guys should definitely go over and check him out over on... Nice. Thanks, buddy. Go over and check him out on Instagram. He has an amazing account over there as well. Once again, it's raw_film_photography. So he says he was so excited to call people names. As long as they're good names and encouraging, I'm okay with it. Let's see here. Eric says, Gabe, by versatility, I mean you can use D76 to develop anything, and I do like the classic look. Overall, a good developer. Yeah, it is overall. I've heard that people do like a 1-to-1 stand development. I've heard that people do like a 1-to-100 stand development, all sorts of different things. I have heard that it's very, very versatile. Let's see here. Are you interested in the Vero app? Actually, let's talk about this right now. So I did jump over and I did sign up for the Vero app, but it seems to be super glitchy. It wasn't allowing me to do anything over on the app. I was trying to make a post. I don't even know if my post ever got made. Kept on saying that the server was having issues and all sorts of stuff. And because of that, I wasn't even able to search around the app or check out anybody else's feeds or anything like that. So I see that people are using it, so I'm sure they're getting the issues resolved. But at the same time, I'm probably going to hold off for a little bit. I do like having my finger on the pulse on these kind of things to see, you know, what especially this community is doing on social media, what apps they're engaged with, and all that kind of stuff. So that way I know where to best connect with you guys. But at the same time, I still think that YouTube and Instagram are the best places for me to connect with you guys. I've had some people say that they don't think Instagram is good for community or anything like that, and I highly, what am I trying to say? I strongly disagree with that, is what I'll say. I find that Instagram and YouTube are the two biggest platforms I've ever had the best community as far as social media on. I absolutely love both platforms. I absolutely think that both platforms are at least somewhat bulletproof right now. And will continue to grow and will continue to push forward. Sure, some of the algorithm stuff is broken. Yes, they're working on it. They're trying to fix it. They've put out call after call after call. But at the same time, there's never going to be a perfect app. And, these apps that are quote unquote no algorithm, there is an algorithm. There has to be an algorithm in order for the apps to work. But at the same time, it's no algorithm right now, but in the future, I guarantee you, to try and maintain and try and keep people on their platform, they're going to shift their algorithm as well. It's a business game for these guys. They're not just in it just to make an app, just to serve the community well. It's very much a business venture on every single time one of these apps is released. So we have to understand that it might start off one way, but it will always start to divert the other way. And if we just understand that, then we won't be so quick to try and jump ship from one that is working extremely well, that is, even though it might be a little broken. I don't know, Twisted Mickey, I think you might get banned here in a second. Thanks, Anthony. Boom, Anthony is on it. This is our guest moderator, guys. He put him on a timeout. That's amazing. I didn't even know that you could put people on a timeout. Oh, brings me back to my youth when I was getting in trouble. Anyways, yeah, that's a little bit of a rant. We might go off. I want to see what you guys think about this stuff, and then it might get me fired up to jump back into some of that stuff. Just because, I don't know, I've just been kind of frustrated with how many people are like, Instagram is going to hell in a handbasket, and just people are frustrated with Instagram, and I understand it. But at the same time, if you know, I said this, and I had a couple people go, well, I don't want to play the game. Well, you're going to have to play the game no matter what platform you're on. Every platform has a game. It has to be played if you want to be, a mover and a shaker in that platform. But at the same time, the game's not too difficult. It's about building community, about actually engaging with people, about responding back to people, and actually giving legitimate responses, and not assuming that everyone's going to come on and just feed you with likes and affirmation and everything. You need to be giving back to the community. And if you are and you're still not seeing growth, well, at least you're doing a good thing and you're connecting with people. And I guarantee you have a solid group in your network that you can connect with. And the moment we make it about the numbers is the moment that we've lost track of a lot of what's good. Let's see here. Nice. Anthony, you're killing it, buddy. Thank you. Mick B 2.0, you should do a how to make a zine with InDesign video. Actually, that is one of the videos that I've promised multiple times, and I'm really like shooting for making it happen this weekend. I was literally just planning out and writing down some notes for it this morning, so it will be coming up soon, hopefully this next week. I'm done making promises because my life is so hectic that sometimes things get in the way, and I'm not able to do those, so I'm not going to make you a promise, but at the same time, I will say, I will promise that I'm trying to make it an effort to put it out very soon. Why are you so blue, bro? That's funny. It took me a second. I was like, what are you talking about? All right. Jonas says, "Hi there. Do you explicitly prefer the 50 dual range over the other version?" So that's a good question. I actually just sold off. I had the version 5, which is the most recent version of the most recent non-aspherical version of the 50 Summicron, and I just recently sold that off to pay for part of our trip for Paris. I do. The 50 dual range just gives me the range that I really want to be in for the close-up detail shots that I do. So really getting into close, really building, like a portfolio of these details, and I just like the intimacy of being able to get as close as possible. So it's not quite a macro lens, but at the same time, it does get me a lot closer than the other versions of the 50 Summicron. So I do like the other ones. The version 5 that I shot with was fantastic. The contrast on it was insane, but at the same time, the contrast in the romance that is in the dual range that I have is perfectly fine. So Joey says, "Sorry, my feed was breaking up. Did you say you drum scan?" Yeah, I send. So anytime I print larger than 13 by 19, which is what Gabe's saying, I send off to Indie Film Lab, and then they drum scan. So the birds in flight image for, let's see here, I have one of these over here. So this guy here, you guys are familiar with it. For this one, I sent it off to Indie Film Lab, and I printed it on it was a little over 3 foot by 5 foot, and it looked amazing. Sure, the grain was nice and thick and big, but at the same time, with my work, I could have just said the birds in flight. I didn't even realize I was wearing that. But anyways, yeah, I absolutely love drum scan. The the scans that you get back from that are absolutely ridiculous. Who does your drum scanning and cost per scan? I already said the Indie Film Lab, and it's about $30 a frame, which is high. But if you're at a point to where you're printing larger than 13 by 19, then $30 for getting a proper scan is not bad at all. Especially when you're selling those prints, it pays for itself. So Jacob says, "What's everyone's method for going back into the archives and choosing negatives to print?" For me, I just tend to have ideas in my head. I have a long list of things that I want to print, so I end up kind of going back in with something on my mind. Recently, it's wanting to print a lot of the Chicago work that I shot in the foggy Chicago about a month ago now. So I've been printing that. Gabe says, "I use a loop with a light box these days to pick and scan, and I find it more efficient than scanning everything." Nice. London Backpacker says, "Andrew, check out Shoots with Coops on YouTube. Just uploaded a video scanning with an X Pro 2. Nice. I printed 3 13 by 19 prints for my therapist, and I'm getting paid for it." That's fantastic. Congrats. Is that your first paid gig for, is that personal work that you made, or was it a commission job? I'd love to hear a little bit more about that. And congrats, Revolt. Alyssa says, "I have a question about bulk loading. When you first started, did you lose a lot of film?" No, it's not as in light exposure. You don't lose a lot of film. You have to. I made a video on it. It's not too far long ago, so if you go over to my videos, scroll down, it's just a little ways. And actually, I think I linked to it in one of the last videos. Anyways, it's not that difficult. If you have a light case or a light type bag, they have changing bags and changing tents and stuff like that. Or if you're able to turn a bathroom into a dark room or something, you load it into your bulk loader, which I happen to have mine right here. I put tape around mine because there's a little bit of a gap on mine. This like old plastic stuff. I don't think that there's any issue with that gap. I don't think any light's getting in, but I always kind of put a little tape on it just to be sure. But you load it in your bulk loader, and then once you're done there, you pull it out in the light, and then this little flap opens, and the film's right there, and everything else is light tight. So it seems really intimidating at first, but it really is not. So Anthony, you know what to do, bruh. All right. Jacob says, I'm asking because I've been getting caught up in the chaos of all the nags, and it can be exhausting. Do you guys choose by subject or project, or if it's just something you want to print? Yeah, a big thing for me is I don't have a whole lot of time to spend in the darkroom. So when I go in, I have specific frames in mind. I only ever get maybe 2 frames printed per darkroom session because I'm dodging and burning and changing filters and all that kind of stuff. I'm not an expert in the darkroom by any means. In fact, I'm far from it. So I still kind of fumble my way through trying to figure out where I want to bring my print. Gabe says, Alyssa, I haven't lost any film at all. Are you running into particular problems? No, I'm just interested in bulk loading. I've been doing film for a minute, but bulk loading seems an interesting route. It really is. And it saves so much money. You go from about $6, $7 a roll for HP5 down to about 2, and it's amazing. So, not afraid of grain photography podcast. Nice. Is this a new channel for you, or did you change the name to this whole new photography podcast? I like that. I noticed that you started putting your podcast episodes up there. Peter Gott says, I'm having a terrible time with my negatives curling along the long edge. How do you stop this from happening so you can get better scans? I mostly shoot HB5 and Tri-X with Ilfotech HC. Yeah, depending on what your water content is, sometimes hot water or not hot water, but hard water or super soft water or whatever it is, will change the difference. See you, Jacob. Good having you on here. Thanks for tuning in and joining in on the conversation. But one of the things that you could do is with normally I have a canister. So with a canister, if you grab a canister like this, you take your film and you roll it back on itself after it dries. So it gets dried, and do I have any? Here we go. I always have something laying around. So you have your film. This is HP5, this dried flat. But let's say you had this gnarly curl, right, and it's going this way. If you roll it backwards on the curl, so if it's curling this way, you're going to roll it this way. Hopefully this makes sense. But you roll it the opposite direction of where the curl's going. You get that all rolled up, and then you just put it in your canister here, close the top on it, and let it sit for a day, maybe 2 days, and then you take it out, and it should have flattened. You can also cut and sleeve it, and then put the sleeve underneath. You have these archival sleeves. If you guys can't tell, like my workspace, I have things at arm's reach everywhere. But you put them in your archival sleeve, and then you just put this under a book, and you just allow it to flatten for a couple days or something like that. So hopefully that helps. I sleeve my eggs with a roll number on a sticker. Uneven toast. Do you have twin check stickers? I'm curious. I've been really thinking about getting twin check stickers and starting to go the whole twin check route. And then anytime I go and scan in to catalog under that twin check. So that's really cool to hear you say that. I'd love to hear if that is what you're doing. When I digested them, I named the folder the same. When I go through the roll, I can go through Lightroom, I can go right back to the roll. That's a very smart idea. Gabe says, Jacob, I've started dating my negatives, and I keep a log every day of what I want to look for on that negative later. Wow. It's very meticulous. I don't know. I don't think that's the right word that I want to use, but very meticulous of you. I'm going to continue using that word, even though I don't think it's the right one. George says, Alyssa, it depends also what bulk loader you're using. But usually a roll of bulk film will allow you to get 18 rolls of 36 exposures. And actually, I'm able to get 20 rolls using this one of about 36 exposures. So I really highly suggest going with these Lloyd Patterson or these Lloyd tanks versus I think the other ones are Patterson or I forget what the other ones are, but these Lloyd ones don't waste as much of the leader as the other ones, the teardrop looking ones. I tried D76, Rodinal, and HC. I don't go back to D76. Nice. D76 RB67. Oh man, that must have been inside every crevice. It took it. Luckily, the camera was tight enough to where it didn't really get too far inside, and it took me. I was literally going through for about 8.5 hours cleaning the camera, and I got it to a point to where it actually worked well. So yeah, it took me forever to clean it out, though. I'm not even joking. Emily can tell you if she's still on here. It was about 8.5 hours that I was just cleaning the thing with a toothbrush and canned air and just everything. I had to strip it down to like the bare bones. It was nuts. Clinton says, I like Xtol, great developer. I also use DDX and love Rodinal, and I'm excited to try Renato's Coldinol method. Let's see here. Dish detergent. Yep, that's what I was saying as well. Nice. Saxon Isles. What's up? Hey, good seeing you on here. Let's see here. Actually, I'm going to jump over and I want to address some of these questions before it gets too far into everything. I have two questions from Instagram that I do want to address. The first one comes from Boone with Film. So at Boone with Film says, of all the amazing photographers who have passed on, who do you wish the most, or more than one, that you could either pick their brain? All right. I think it cut out for a second. Let me know if you guys can see me now. Just a couple people give me some thumbs up. Can see you. Awesome. Perfect. I'm going to reread this last question and hopefully I'll be able to cut that part out where it cut out. But perfect. Thank you guys. Appreciate it. So once again, it was Boone with Film. Says, of all the amazing photographers who have passed on, who do you wish most that you could either pick their brain or go out and shoot with? I was thinking about this as I was prepping for today's live stream, and two answers that I would give you is the first one would be Eugene Atget. I have his book right here. But I would love to just follow him around Paris and just see, back in the late 1800s, early 1900s, just how he was going about and just cataloging the amazing shots of Paris that he got. It's incredible to look through. There's so much life and so much drama and so much. It's like every single scene that he shot could have been a scene from a movie, and this is back before movies were even a thing, and it was very, not necessarily cinematic, but cinematic at the same time. It's just incredible, and his tonal range and just everything about his images I absolutely love. And then the other one would probably be Rodney Smith. I would absolutely, actually, I'll give three. The other one would be Rodney Smith. I would absolutely love to just kind of be his shadow for a day, if I could. Now that he's passed, it's very sad, but his thought process and the way that he would just bring surrealism into portraiture, it was just incredible, and I absolutely love it. So those are the two. And then the third one that is an interesting one that I would say is Sammy Davis Jr. Sammy Davis was an avid photographer, and he's part of the Rat Pack, and an amazing musician, an amazing tap dancer, an amazing comedian, an amazing actor, and also an amazing photographer, believe it or not. I have his book of images and just getting to see behind the scenes, and I would love to have heard some of the stories of the photos that he took and in the ways that he would approach the subjects that we see now as these all-time iconic figures, Frank Sinatra and Dean Martin and guys like Duke Ellington and just everyone of that era. Sammy Davis Jr. had just the insight and the backstage pass to, and it's just incredible. So those are the three that I would answer to that question. And then the other question that came in from Instagram that I decided to answer here is from Fernando Rodriguez, which I know you were in here earlier. Hopefully you're still in here. Versailles for Photos of Paris. I have 3 Versailles books over here. His work is incredible as well. So, but share your thoughts. This is from Fernando Rodriguez. Share your thoughts on point and shoot cameras. Are they not for you? Any particular ones you've liked or could see yourself carrying? And I thought I had it up here, but I guess I don't. It must still be downstairs. But the main point and shoot that I use is Minolta AFS-V. It's one of the Minolta Talkers, and it's a fantastic, fantastic camera. I absolutely love that camera. It's loud as all get out when it rewinds. It sounds like a dying cat, but when you're shooting, it's actually pretty quiet. And it has this feature where only a few of these point and shoots actually have it. But oops. Oh, great. There we go. My phone's about to, it's saying it's about to die, so I accidentally turned on whatever. But yeah, so the Minolta AFS-V, all the other point and shoots that I've ever had, I shot and sold, and I'm not a huge, like, it's not like I'm gigantic into point and shoot, but at the same time, I really do enjoy shooting point and shoots. For 2016, for majority of the year of 2016, I actually shot that Minolta AFS-V. The birds in flight photo that's here. I'm not trying to pimp this photo out today. It just happens to be that this is what we're talking about. It comes up a lot. This is kind of a good photo to reference for a lot of people. But the birds in flight photo was shot with that point and shoot. A lot of my favorite works from 2016 was shot on that point and shoot, and I really do enjoy it. And for all of 2016, that camera really was an extension of my vision. I was able to pull it up and shoot from the hip in whatever way I needed to, and I knew where to frame things, and it was beautiful. So I don't get caught up on, if I'm gonna buy a point and shoot, it has to be like $5 or less. I might spend like $20 on like another AFS-V Minolta because I love that camera. But I'm not one of these guys who's gonna go out and buy Olympus Miju Epic 2.8. I think that those are so overrated. I think so much of the point and shoot market is so overrated and so overpriced right now. I'm not about to go and spend $300 on a point and shoot. That's just not what's gonna happen. I'm gonna take that money. I'm gonna put it towards film. I'm gonna put it towards travel. But I will not put it towards a point and shoot. So that's my own personal thoughts, but I do really enjoy shooting with point and shoots. I think sometimes just removing the aspect of having to make the decisions, the technical decisions, and being able to just jump in and run through a crowd and just be able to shoot as much as I need to is a big benefit. So those are some of the questions that also came in. Once again, I just want to, Anthony, I see you doing your work over there, man. Thank you so much. I just want to say you're doing a fantastic job. Let's see here. Nina says, Film Lab is great scanning app, but it's not out yet publicly. It started out as a Kickstarter project. The developer, Abe Fedig, is always sharing updates on Instagram about the release date. Nice. I think I have seen that. I think I might have seen a video about that, and I do really like that idea of having a dedicated film lab type thing app for your phone. Let's see here. Saxon says, I use tap water and a drop of laundry detergent, and I always get watermarks. Need to get some photo flow. Yeah, photo flow is huge. I've never used laundry detergent. I would say use dishwasher detergent would probably work a little bit better, but yeah, photo flow or Ilford has their own version, but yeah. Washing up liquid, I think that's what, dish soap over wherever you. Travcan says, what do you use to house your fixer? Looking for options. I just use a data tainer, just one of the 1 liter data tainers. It's opaque on the side, so man, we're getting some feisty ones in here. Anthony, I didn't realize you were gonna have so much to do today. I'm very glad that I instilled that moderator position. So thank you, buddy. Clinton says, Gabe, I hadn't considered that. I'm hoping I can make it work. Rodinal is so versatile. I'd love to be able to use it for more than just slow films. I get bad rice grain when pushing films. Interesting. Rice grain meaning like oblong kind of grain. Uh, I wonder if changing your temps might change that, or changing. I also wonder if you're doing stand development. There's a lot of different. This is the crazy thing is once you start getting into developing, there's a lot of different factors that play into the whole thing of. Sorry, it just scrolled down again. But yeah, a lot of different factors that play into the different aspects that show up with grain and everything when you're developing. So all right, I've probably skipped a couple comments. So if I did skip your comment, if it was above these comments that I'm going over, go ahead and just repost it. I'd love to catch any that I missed, but it scrolled down too far, and I don't want to be scrolling for days. Not Afraid of Grain says Instagram was first to market. It's going to be the biggest community for a long time. Yeah, Instagram is not going to be. I highly doubt. I'm not going to say absolutely not, but I highly doubt that Instagram is going to be affected by many of these new apps. I think that it's in it for the long haul. It's really set a giant precedent for what the photographic community is going to look like, and every app is really kind of basing their app off of what Instagram is or is not doing, which still puts Instagram at the front runner of everything, photographic app wise. I think if an app started coming out as a completely new idea, as a completely new platform, and wasn't basing off of the highlights or the strengths or the weaknesses of Instagram, then it might have a chance because it'll be something different. But as long as everyone's trying to make apps to solve the issues of Instagram, they're still focused on Instagram, if that makes sense. So George says, yep, I exchanged a message with you today concerning Instagram. It's really pissed me off not having that chronologically even more than the ads. It would be nice if they added and I think it's just, I don't think it's that they don't want to add this feature. It's probably, I don't know, maybe it is that they don't want to. It would be nice if they brought the chronological feature back. At the same time, they're also trying to cater feeds to picking up what it is that you're liking, your liking structures, your patterns of liking. I noticed that in the mornings they feed me a certain set of images and imagery. In the afternoons they feed me a different set of imagery, and I realized that I kind of trained it to do that. In the mornings, I'm really looking at portraiture and street photography. In the afternoons, I'm looking at automotive photography, and it consistently feeds me this stuff because I probably trained it to do that. And that's one of the things that we have to realize. Some of our frustrations with social media, I'm not saying all of it, but some of our frustrations with social media is actually things that we've trained social media to do. It's a very intelligent system. It falls short in a lot of ways, and it has a lot of downfalls and shortcomings. But at the same time, we did train it in order to do the things and feed us the things that it's feeding us. So it's just something to keep in mind. Nina says, do you tend to reuse chemistry when printing? I'm still a bit confused on chemicals. Yes, I do reuse it. And every couple of months, I'll throw them out and recycle. You know, I'll start a new batch. I don't throw the fixer out. But yeah, I do reuse the stuff that I actually used earlier this week to print in the darkroom was actually a developer that I had mixed a couple months back. So as far as I'm understanding, it lasts quite a while. Bosco says, Insta is great, but it has lost its way. I'm tired of seeing tons of ads and recommend posts on my feed. It seems that they're in a fight with the app in order to see some meaningful photos. See, and I understand. I will say that Instagram has been very, very good at targeting me with the proper apps. My thought process for a long time is people were like, oh man, you know, this new AI system that these social medias are rolling out, and they're starting to catalog and to map our buying, habits and everything to where now if you buy something on Amazon, now it's cross-platformed over to Facebook and Instagram and YouTube, and all of a sudden we start to build this online portfolio of ourselves that social media sites are marketing to. And I understand part of the frustration, but then on the other side, I'm getting targeted with much better ads. Ads are going to happen. It's again one of these things, and I'm not critiquing anything that you guys are saying. I get it. I understand. Part of this is frustrating to me as well. Man, now I look jaundiced. Oh well. But on Facebook, for example, I don't really go on Facebook much anymore, but they used to give me ads for like women's underwear and stuff like that. Stuff that makes no sense to be targeting to a, 20 something year old male, now a 30 something year old male. Like, makes absolutely no sense to be targeting that stuff to me. But now if I go on Facebook, nearly every single ad, besides some like Doritos commercials and stuff like that, is actually very specifically driven towards me. And if there's going to be ads, I would much rather them stop looking at women's underwear, Nick. Thanks, buddy. If there's going to be ads, I would much rather them make sense to, my buying patterns and my looking patterns and all these different things versus them just showering me with whatever ads that they think that they want to put in front of me. So, yeah. Nina says, I'm also using multigrade. I don't know what that means. Uh, I'm not too familiar with how to explain that. If anybody knows how to explain the multigrade developer and paper and stuff like that, yeah, I'm not quite sure on how to describe all that. That's what I use as well, and I just kind of use it. My whole philosophy on things is I'm gonna make a decision when I jump into something. So when I jumped into YouTube, I made a decision to use my iPhone and just plowed right in and started making them. And then later on, I can make the adjustments that I need to make. When I started developing, I bought whatever the first developer that was available at the camera shop was. Um, John Roberts, what's up, buddy? Good seeing you on here. Which was Ilfasol 3, and my battery's about to die real soon. But it was Ilfasol 3, and I'd used that for the longest time. And then later on, I made the shifts and jumped over to HC110. But I just kind of jump in, use whatever I have available at the time, pick something, and then I just run with it. And then when I find that it's not working for the things that I need to be working for, then I'll make the adjustment. I'll make the shift. But I make the shift after already building momentum. And that's not even a comment on your comment, Nina. That's really just kind of a thought that needed to come out, I guess. Um, how do you feel about pulling film? I accidentally shot Tri-X at 100 ISO, but it came out pretty cool after processing. I think you can get amazing, amazing results with pulling film. At the same time, I don't do it so much because I do enjoy shooting at a higher ISO. I want to have the speed and the flexibility to be able to jump from outdoors into indoors. It's part of the reason why I shoot at 1600 is because as soon as I move from bright sunlight shooting 1/1000th or 1/500th at f16 into indoors like here, I'm shooting, right now probably 1/60th at f2.8, maybe even a little bit more. There's some sunlight coming in, so I might be able to pull off f4 at 1/60th. But anyways, I like having that versatility. So pulling film, you can get amazing, amazing results. You could really smoothen out the tonal range and really smoothen out the grain. But for my work, at least, at this point, it doesn't really make a whole lot of sense for me, the aesthetic that I'm going for. Gavin Easton says, hey, I'm curious to hear your opinion on this. I'm currently shooting a Mamiya 645 Pro. That's fantastic. Mine is... I don't know where mine is. I thought it was up over there, but I love that camera. But I'm curious to hear what you think about something like a Leica versus a Mamiya 7. I've only ever held a Mamiya 7 in my hand. I've never shot one. And the viewfinder, the rangefinder on that thing is massive. It's amazing. I would really enjoy shooting one. I would like to shoot one. I do want to try a rangefinder medium format camera, whether it be the 645 Fuji's or this one, or Bronica has a 645 rangefinder. So I'd really enjoy trying that. But at the same time, with 645, I really do enjoy my Mamiya Pro. And I like the heft and the size and the functionality of that. I don't know. I thought I had it within arm's reach if it wasn't up there. But anyways, I was going to kind of explain a little bit more about what I enjoy about it. But what about the Fuji 645? Yeah, I mean, like I said, I would love to try something like that. I've never shot it, but do you think Hasselblad will ever remanufacture the X-Pan, given the insane prices they are bringing on the internet? They might. That's a good question. I would be very interested to see that. Yeah, I don't know. I don't really see them coming back out with much of a. I could be wrong. Film is really on a resurgence in a big way, so maybe they would. That'd be pretty cool. Anything to drive those prices down because man, they're untouchable right now. Let's see here. That bulk loader is a better one. You use less liter. Yeah, totally. I completely agree. Eduardo, hey Jasmine, I just arrived late but in time. Hey buddy, good seeing you on here. Wait, is Matt Day on here? Where's he at? I didn't see him jump on here. Let's see here. Israel, what about his idea? It's weird. I don't know. Let's see here. 2 prints is solid, Nick. You need to take your time and craft the print. Yeah, completely. Rebranded, nice. I like the new rebrand and yeah. It'd be curious. You're not adding video with the podcast? Is it just the audios that are going up on your channel? It'd be interesting to have both the video aspect and the audio aspect to be able to go between. Daniel Collins says, do you ever withhold good or great images from social media for other uses such as exhibitions or publications? It's sometimes hard to find images which are featured in large and successful exhibitions. I don't really, I'm not really one for withholding a whole lot. I like having Instagram be a creative playground. I am withholding a lot of the New York work just because it's just a way for me to really force myself to get through and develop through. I don't know if you guys could see, but I have 5 rolls over here that still need to be scanned in and edited, and I have another 50 rolls that need to be developed from New York. So I haven't been sharing much of that. I think I shared 5 or 6 different frames from the thing. I think probably 6. But that was it. Other than that, I don't really withhold anything. I like sharing stuff. I like having the creative playground and just sharing with you guys what's kind of running through my mind at any given moment. So I do want to talk about that idea with zines and whether or not you should share the images from a zine. I like kind of having demonstrations when I speak, but I highly suggest that you share images from a zine that you have either already put out, if you're trying to go back and kind of re-spike some of the interest in the zine that you've already released. Share some of the images, share the stories behind the images. I mean, especially if you're trying to sell work, if you're trying to sell a zine, there's no use in being secretive on it. Like, honestly, you're shooting yourself in the foot the more secretive you're trying to be. People buy based off of emotional responses, so you want to give them something to emotionally respond to. You want to tell them the story behind a photo. You want to share the reasoning on why you sequence the zine in the way that you did, why you built the zine in the way you did, why you chose the paper that you did, why you chose the cover stock you did, why you chose the print process or the print shop or whatever it might be. And you want to tell the story along the way because people will buy into stories more so than they will buy into products. Yeah, so I'm not one to be secretive with my stuff, and it's worked out extremely well for me. Clinton says, if you shop, you can find HP5 for around $57 per 100 foot. I buy it when I find it and keep it. Yeah, I just recently got a 100-foot roll for $54 on eBay. Something popped up, I snagged it real quick, and like you said, it's in my film fridge right now. Nina says, interesting. Are you using airtight bottles for storage? Yes, I am. Those datainers, they're fantastic and they're super cheap. You can find them on B&H, Adorama, you can find them on eBay even. I'm thinking of pouring the chemistry in just standard 1 liter bottles, but I'm sure that it will. I'm still unsure. One thing that you could do is if you get the 1 liter Arizona iced tea bottles, they have Arizona iced tea in them. Dump the Arizona iced tea out or drink it, and then rinse those out really good. You could actually use those because they're amber colored bottles, and they'll store the stuff very well because they're pretty opaque on the outside. So I didn't have any extra datainers for a while, so that's what I was using in the darkroom. Let's see here. I'm going to skip over some of this stuff. So, what are twin check stickers? I think actually I was seeing that Daniel was answering that. Curlback, that's a nice trick, yes. Ah, yes, the Watson loaders are the other ones. Thank you guys. Appreciate that. Yeah, I don't suggest those. There's far too many things that could go wrong. And actually, I'm going to plug my phone in, and the audio is probably going to get a little bit different just because my headphones aren't in now, but I don't want it to die on me, and I have about 6 to 7 more minutes that I'm going to be on here before we jump off. So let's see here. Let me ask you this real quick. What do you guys think the format of this live or the 2 Minute Tuesday question and answer? Should we do one of these like every couple of months? Do you guys think that this idea of having a 2 Minute Tuesday that just has 5 different questions in it, do you guys like that format? Would you rather we just dive into one topic? I'd like to hear what you guys have to say about that. Jamie Action says, what SLR would you recommend for a beginner? Try the Pentax K1000. Fantastic SLR. Or Minolta SRT 201 or 101. Any of the early Minoltas or the Pentax K1000. They're fantastic. Thoughts on Daido Moriyama? I really like his work. Sometimes the books that he puts out, I don't quite get. I walk through them. I have his Paris book. Let me grab it real quick. So I just got this one in the other day. This is Daido Moriyama's Paris 88 and 89. And this one actually makes more sense than some of his other ones. I had Tales of Tono, I think it was. That one made no sense to me. It was printed to where pretty much everything was black. I'm trying to find an image that might kind of exemplify a little bit more of what his style was like in that book. And there's not too many in here. There's, well, maybe something like this. And it's very punchy. He goes very, like poster-esque, like wood block print kind of printing with some of his books. And it ends up, for me at least, just all blending into the same kind of thing. You start to get kind of bored with the book as you go partway through. But this book I absolutely love. It's fantastic. It has, actually it came with like a little zine in the back that has just, I say zine, it's a little pamphlet, that has just an interview with him that's pretty cool. But I do really enjoy his work. When I seen an exhibition out in Chicago at the Chicago Institute of Arts. There was a Provoke era exhibition, probably one of the greatest exhibitions I've seen to date. It was absolutely incredible. It had everyone from that era in there, and the works, when displayed on the wall, when printed in the darkroom, are just nuts. They're beautiful and gorgeous prints. So I really think that Daido and the rest of the guys from the Provoke era really opened up the door to a lot of experimentation. They really opened up the door to what is photography, and they started challenging the concept and challenging the idea of what photography was, could be, or will be, and I really like that about that. Let's see here. To me, it's Duano and Robert Frank. Duano would be another one that I would absolutely love to walk around, and I would obviously say Bresson, but at the same time, everyone says Bresson. So I wanted to go someone different, but Duano would be a big one. Going back to the question about what photographers who have passed on would I have loved to spend a day with. So Duano would have been a good one. Sergio Lorraine would have been actually probably Sergio Lorraine should have been at the top of my list, honestly. But Robert Frank would have been a good one as well. Awesome, Fernando, you're still in here. Good. Mario Giacomelli, yes. Giacomelli is fantastic. His drawings specifically are incredible. Gabe says, I just want to say that Anthony is doing an absolutely amazing job today. Way to step it up, brother. Yes, he is. Anthony, you are killing it. If you guys haven't gone and followed Anthony on Instagram, it is raw_film_photography. Yeah, you need to go over there and check him out because it's fantastic. His work is amazing. He's an amazing dude, and I think you guys will find a lot of value in following him. Also, let me just throw this out there. 2 calls to action once again. If you're liking this live stream, go ahead and hit the like button, the thumbs up button, just to let YouTube know to push this out in front of other people. But then 2, go over and say hi to Anthony on Instagram and tell him that he did a fantastic job today. Shoot him a message and get some conversation rolling with him over there. So once again, it's raw_film_photography. Gabe says he uses hydrogen peroxide bottles for storing chemistry. That's a fantastic idea, actually. Because you could buy like hydrogen peroxide for like $1 or something at dollar stores and then just dump it out. Right? You could dump hydrogen peroxide out. I think you could dump it out. I don't think it's toxic. Even Rico point and shoots. I don't know. Rico GRs. Yeah, I don't know. If I'm gonna spend money on something, it's gonna be, like I said, film or travel. Let's see here. Has anyone tried Cinestill Black and White XX? I think I have a roll. I have not shot it. I had a bunch of rolls, and I actually gave a bunch of them away at the last meetup that I did. Which, by the way, if you guys ever go to any of my meetups, I try and bring some film in my pockets to be able to give out to people. So, just a quick little side note for the next time I do a meetup, I'll be doing one in Chicago, which I'm talking to Teal Magazine. I don't know if Teal's on here, but we're talking to Teal Magazine. Nick uses Apple Computer.